These include new office location with sufficient space allocation, appropriate environment, and the possibility for expansion. These will obviate the need for reliance on other institutions. As Mr. Khan mentioned earlier, we are currently in the process of attempting to go back to the industrial court for some of the short-term difficulties we face. But clearly, that cannot be something that, as we move forward, we have to depend on. And that's the reason why the ability to get to new quarters appropriate for the appeal function over and above the Secretariat's requirements becomes so particularly important. Equipment needs, the outfitting of a proper tribunal environment, and the anticipated operational requirements related to highly specialized professional contracting services, again, is one of the things that we need to put to rest as we go forward. The evaluation of the performance of the PSC and the Secretariat in all aspects of its operation, as well as the dimensioning of its future program and project needs for the overall governance architecture towards the Republic's policing efforts, again, is something that we are essentially currently involved in with all the major stakeholders at this point. In that strategic master plan, as to some of the areas that we need to look at, specific recommendations and conclusions within that particular strategic master plan. And I think that as we move forward from this particular stage, it would behoove all of us to have a copy of that strategic master plan when it becomes available. And I think you'll be surprised to find that we are pretty much reading from the same page, except that in the past we focused so much on the negatives that the light at the end of the tunnel is not out. In fact, it's shining quite brightly. One of the reasons why we felt emboldened to literally provide much of the suggestions on the way forward is that we are guided as a group by the constitutional amendments. If the political goodwill is there, if it is enshrined in the Constitution, and we are all around this table as partners able to come up with solutions that can move us forward in this direction, then I think that is essentially what the constitutional requirements are all about. In conclusion, the work of the Police Service Commission Secretariat cannot be understated, but without provision of the 5 aforementioned thematic areas, this will fall short of its given mandate. At this point, I want to thank you. And as I mentioned, if there is need for us to go in more detail, once the process of the strategic plan is complete, we will have all stakeholders have access to it. And as we meet in the future, we can continue to sharpen the focus on how we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Just a few moments, so any questions or clarification you need? Yes, Mr.
I just wanted to point out to Mr. Parker that as chairman of the Law Reform Commission, when I said at this roundtable meeting that the suggestion for considering an independent management of the Police Service Commission was a suggestion, I hope that my suggestion wasn't taken as being read as government's policy, because the Law Commission does not have that mandate. So I just wanted to clarify that. It was just a suggestion, something on the table to consider, because there are a lot of stakeholders involved in settling a policy of that nature. I think we all understand that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to comment on that, I am sure that we all in this room take that spirit into consideration. We are not policymakers in this room, but we are certainly able at this point, with the goodwill provided by the constitutional mandate, to offer suggestions to the policymakers. Thank you.
All right. Any other comment with regard to Mr. Parker's presentation? If not, Mr. Parker and myself supposed to be to co-chair this closing session. So Mr. Parker being my senior, I would allow him to take the lead. While Mr. Parker is getting his act together, is there anything, I want to recognize Dr. Gibbsbach left us for a short while. I know you may have missed most of what went on. Any particular question you may have in mind at this point in time?
No, Dr. Ride, at this point I've had a chance to listen to some of the information that's come forward. I heard the Professor Desaran this morning as far as his opening address and the need for this round table to actually look at reform of the governance structure for the Police Service Commission and how that dovetails into the police service itself. And I can only say that it's certainly endorse the opportunity for this to take place because there's many aspects that could make it more valuable for not only the Police Service Commission and the police service to conduct the operations that we have to take and undertake, but also it would make it easier, again, through the reform for the other entities to also work in tandem. So I see this as a very valuable session in this way. And unfortunately, I did miss a lot of the salient parts to it earlier today, so I don't want to kind of rehash or get into it, but using this forum as the beginning, I think is very valuable. I hope it continues.
Just picking up on what you just mentioned, Commissioner, the Deputy Commissioner of Police was totally engaged in the discussions this morning, and I am sure as we move forward, he will fully brief you on the positive aspects that came out of this morning's discussion. One of the things that I wanted to pursue a little further, and I'm sorry Mr. Reno isn't here right now, but maybe the other representative of the Ministry of National Security can help in this regard. The question of communication among stakeholders will most likely be the most critically important